Joined here by Gio and Steve. Thanks, guys, for coming out. I'm going to fade down the music a little bit here. And this is my first time mixing stuff together here with a little bit of music and a little bit of the audio coming in directly from you guys on the stream. So hopefully we don't get too much echo from you guys coming out on my speakers. If we do have issues with that, then I'll wear a headset next time. But once again, we are here to talk a little bit about Vide, which is a mindfulness and productivity and organization app that we're building together, as well as how we build it. Basically, we're going through the entire process of authoring not only just the app, but its tests and conventions and everything that wires it together and makes it deployable and easy to use. So we've got a big focus on lean technology, lean process, being able to get things done quickly and efficiently, because we don't have a lot of time. We're doing this basically 3 or 4 hours a week, and so we've got a lot of ground to cover. So what we're working on right now, feature-wise, is a daily checklist, and basically the feature is the ability to take a look at, did I drink enough water today? Did I avoid screens 2 hours before bed? Did I not drink any caffeine after 2 p.m.? Things like that. And we'll provide a base list that everybody has access to, but also people will ultimately be able to add their own items and say, did I walk 2 miles today, or whatever is important to you? Did I spend enough time meditating, or practicing the guitar, or whatever it is that's important to you. So where we left off last time, and let me see if my scenes are still working here from last time. It looks like I need to find my window here, so give me a minute for that. There we go. Let me get that link for you guys as well, so that Gio and Steve can follow along, because right now they're not seeing my screen the way that everybody else who's seeing the stream right now might be. How's your week going, guys?
Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Going good.
So Rob's excited that he's actually starting to get the app that he's been working on for a little while. He's getting people demoing it, isn't that right?
That is correct.
That's always fun. When you put a lot of energy into something and then it really comes to fruition, it's really good to see that.
It's the first time that I am a project lead, and it is the first time that I'm, being part of a dev team from the very start of the design of an application, as opposed to coming in halfway and doing maintenance and adding new features. So I'm really stoked to have it in front of real people.
You're very humble to say that, because you and I have worked on projects together through my company Creates Media, where you took certainly a very leadership role and definitely demonstrated a lot of seniority there. But you've only been doing this for a couple of years. I think, Steve, also you've only been in this for a couple of years as well, right?
Yep. I think in mid-August or early August, it's going to be 2 years at the company that we're at right now.
Yeah, I've been in web dev for 4 years, going on 5 now.
It goes by quick, and certainly the more technology you learn that becomes totally obsolete, that isn't even necessary anymore, the more you realize how old you've been in this industry. I can think of quite a few. Nobody's really asking for SharePoint anymore. Nobody really cares about, honestly, even PHP isn't as much call for it as there used to be. And jQuery and even Bootstrap is starting to slow down quite a bit. So it's really interesting to see how quickly the industry transforms. But technology-wise, you guys are already familiar with the stack. We're doing TypeScript, we're doing Cypress for our tests, and where we left off last time, we had, let's take a look at the app here. We had a couple items here. Wipe your butt before leaving the toilet. Less than 23 hours a day in front of the TV. Marry young for money. Hide the evidence up your butt. Win and make excuses about friends met along the way. So this is our makeshift list here. We basically just set up a mock, and this is allowing us to get to a state where we have enough information about the UI. We're not really concerned about styling it right now. We have enough information about the UI that we can take a closer look at this. We can inspect this information, and from that we can make it a little bit easier for us to maybe write some tests and expect some assertions about this view. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got too many windows open here on this myself. So let me get that in front of me here, and I'm going to go ahead and inspect this, and then I'm going to attach that window because it's going to show up in a separate window at first. So that's usually how I prefer doing it, but I want everybody to be able to see what I'm doing here. Gio and Steve, were you able to get access to that stream? Is it looking okay to you guys?
Looks great.
The interview him.
And you might want to mute the YouTube tab, or vice versa. You're going to get a delay one way or the other. Either the video is going to be delayed or the audio is going to be delayed.
Yep.
So take your pick. Pick your poison. Okay. So what we've got here are some data test IDs, and I think we're going to reuse this mock that we wrote and probably make that part of our test sources. So what I'd like to do is take this checklist mock and migrate it over to this mocks directory here and then import it, because I think that we can reuse this in other scenarios like Jest tests and potentially in our Cypress tests as well. I'm going to go ahead and ask IntelliJ to create a new file here. I'm going to give it a second because it looks like it's running a little bit slow right now. Okay, and so we're going to export from here, and look at that. Finally, IntelliJ is starting to get a little more intelligent because it's indexed these files now. So what it's done is it's automatically, and I got to fix the auto styling here because it's going to keep frustrating me that I have to do this manually. But I should be able to, what is it, option dot. You guys don't recall offhand what the auto optimize is.
You know,
I'm going to check my hotkeys here.
But I don't know if you need to show us IntelliJ or not, but we can't see it.
You know what? I definitely appreciate you bringing that up. How about now? Give it like 5 seconds. Yeah.
I don't believe so. I still see Vida. Localhost 3157. Okay, just popped up.
Okay, yeah, that's a little laggy. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're going to export. We've imported the interface for checklist entry, and we're going to export the checklist mock, and that will be consumed from this other file, checklist daily here. Whoops. Okay, so let's make this a little different for the sake of making it stateful, for the sake of being able to run some tests against this. So one of the things I want to look at next is setting up a state variable to track the contents of the checklist. So let's say const where have I been doing this lately? Guys, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm getting pretty rusty. It's been a minute since I've been doing any of this stuff. So I'm looking for a pattern that I've used before, because I have experimented a little bit with the sticky state hook that I wrote, which retains the value in local storage. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm experimenting with the idea of trying to hot reload the page and its state based on something I saw from Gleb Bamutov, who's one of the core contributors to Cypress, where you can basically refresh a page and have it instantly available using service workers. I think it's a cool concept. So I've been playing around a little bit with this sticky state, and I wanted to just kind of there we go. So I wanted to see what the signature is from a different function that I've used it in. So we'll say checklist and set checklist, use sticky state. The default value in this case, it should end up being an empty array, but we're going to make it default to checklist mock. And then instead of mapping over checklist mock, the next thing that we're going to be doing is mapping over checklist. And for the moment, we're not doing anything with set checklist, but we're going to be using that in a minute to manipulate this list and update the state. Okay, so where I'm at now, I'd like to switch the window over for a second here to showcase that in the app, well, first of all, I'm getting a little bit of weird artifact here. I think this is something to do with Ionic, or maybe it's something that with the way that I configured Ionic, but the page is scrolling about halfway down the page, and that's not going to work for me. There's definitely something strange going on there. If you guys were listening to, if you happen to be listening to the, is that thunder where you're at, Steve?
No, it's a train.
Oh.
Subway.
So if you happen to be listening to the live stream music, you're probably not, because you're listening to the meet and you'd be getting an echo if you did that. But the background music for those who are listening is some of Gio's music here. I think he called this one Searching. This is weird. It's like opening the side menu. We don't even have a handle for that. So I'm noticing another problem here, which is that it looks to me like we're not logged in, but we're getting a checklist. So maybe we can take a look at that problem before we go too much further with anything else. And a great place to start with that process, I think, is for us to pop on over to our Cypress tests and have a look at that. It's important to maybe take a look at setting up an authenticated and unauthenticated state, and in both of those cases we'll assert something that says this is what we should be seeing, or this is what we should expect to see, and that way we can maybe avoid some of the idiosyncrasies or bugs that I'm seeing around the menu interface, which shouldn't even be accessible from this view. So let's go to the outer container component. And what I'm going to compare this with is, I think we've got a dashboard view that is only accessible to authenticated users. So just having a look at that, I've split the view and moved it to the right, and looking to try and find something here that shows what I'm doing with an authenticated and unauthenticated state. Here we go. It looks like we can just use this. P auth is authenticated, passed in from auth. And I believe I am passing that from the app component, which is what is loading up checklist, the container. So let me have a quick look at that as well, because I think that's going to be important to double check. If that is not the case, then we need to fix that immediately. So I'm loading up app TSX here as well, and just double checking to make sure. Yes, we are passing it. So because auth is important here, over in the interface for checklist props, I'm going to mark it as non-optional. Unlike the home case where if you aren't logged in, it just says log in to get started, and if you are logged in, it says welcome to Vide. This is a page that's for both parties, both types. But in the case of the checklist component, we always expect an authenticated user, and we always expect to have the authenticated prop. And if the user does not have a valid authentication object, we're going to go ahead and just reroute them directly to the login view. It looks like we can get redirect from React router DOM. So let's do that. And I'll use this convention. It's not commonly used, but I think we can just do this. And then why don't we say we Swifty. So basically what we're saying here is, if you're off, here's a bunch of stuff that you get. If you're not off, go home. Uh-oh. Failed to compile. Oh. I think I screwed up. Whoops. I left a euro sign in checklist daily. When switching between my screens, I pressed the wrong hotkey. Hate it when that happens. Now we're compiling successfully. And so the next thing that I want to do is, and I probably should have done this beforehand, so you guys are welcome to in the future, and I know it's tough with a little bit of lag too, but you're welcome to cluck your tongue at me if you think that I should get more proactive about writing some of these tests earlier on, because I think it's not a bad practice, and definitely can be a very good practice to get used to writing a test and then asserting something that should pass and then making it pass. And if my buddy David's ever watching this, I know he's probably screaming at the monitor right now that yes, definitely that. Write the test first, right? I'm probably not the only one. I bet Beck would say the same thing, or Devanite. So yeah, let's look at what should happen in an often on-off state. And I'm gonna go ahead and crib again. I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I have written tests for often on-off states for at least one of these other guys. Here we go. So let's steal that a little bit, and we'll pop this over here. Okay, and then you get a lot of subway trains there.
I'm 1 block away from the subway.
That sounds like fun. You get used to it?
Yeah, I don't even hear it, to be honest with you.
Wow.
You mentioned it, and I'm like, oh shit.
I totally get that though. Occasionally, like, I'll hear the voices from the train station nearby because we're like half a mile away, and you know, attention, the road is wet, don't slip, you know, or something like that. You know, mind the gap or something, and like, you know, you tune it out so much you don't even think about it.
I feel like you just become habitualized to it, you know?
Yeah,
This
habituated for sure.
Your why.
Yeah,
You're
habituated.
train to Grand Central Station. Please mind the gap.
Every time.
So I'm cheating again here a little bit in the other window, just saying it out loud in case anybody wonders, you know, if tech leads are really using Google as much as the junior guys are. And I don't know, honestly I think the good ones are. You know, you're always looking something up because you're always trying to make sure, even just to verify that you've got it right. Some things eventually sink in enough that you can do it over and over and over again, but at least for me, I have to juggle so many technologies and so many different things that I don't remember all of it, even half the time. So I don't try to anymore. I'm closer to 40 than 30, so I figure it's only going to get harder as I get older. So rather than trying to keep a mental Rolodex of literally everything, I just know enough to be dangerous and to know where to look. So what I'm looking for here is a side.location object with a property path name. So I'm going to use side.location when I'm testing and then assert against that. Let's do site.location path name should to, and then I think equal, and then we want to make sure that it, we'll say what it says, redirects the unauth users to home page. Okay, so I'm wrapping up the unauth state here, and I think Cypress uses dot only instead of fdescribe. I'm about to find out. So for everybody watching on the stream here, let me go ahead and switch my view over to Cypress, which is not running. So I'll need a second to spin that up. You'd think I'd be able to remember the command npm run vide, but I'll say it out loud until I embarrass myself into remembering it. So I've switched back to IntelliJ here to demonstrate
Black screen right now.
Yeah, you're a couple seconds behind. We're going to see that black screen again for a minute while I... well, hang on a second. Let's see if this is actually kicking off Cypress for me. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So Cypress is loading up in another window here, and you guys will be able to see that in just a few seconds. Episode 2 of Code with Crates is brought to you by Juice. Diet Juice. Don't drink red liquid.
What kind of juice?
I can't say because they're not paying us.
Gotcha. Juice brand juice.
That's right.
It's juicy.
We'll just say it rhymes with Goshen hay. Okay, so something weird here. I somehow logged myself in on Cypress. Didn't expect that. Let me see if I can get this up so that everybody else can see what I'm seeing. So in my unauth test, I am actually logged in. Okay, I think I see the problem here. So I'm going back to IntelliJ here, and you guys will see it in a couple of seconds. It looks like the issue here is that, other than another Euro character I've added here, that we're mocking the login in the wrong area here. So before we start all of these tests, we're going to visit the home page, but for unauthenticated users, we're not going to do anything else. And for auth users, we are going to mock the login before we do anything in that describe block. Let's go ahead and write another before function. And I feel like I should be able to just say before and put mock login into a method like that, but I feel like that's not going to work for some reason. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm feeling rowdy. So the song that's playing on the live stream now is another one that Rob helped me work on for a rap rock opera called Phantasmagoria, retelling Dante's Divine Comedy. It's a super cool project, and I'm excited to be working on it with him. But this one was called Heresy, and it's just a very, very trippy, strange, kind of interesting background track. I really enjoyed it a lot.
So can you visit some of those both and develop as musicians?
Yeah, no doubt. So let me just double check. It looks like everybody can see on the live stream that the tests have passed. Home equals home, and it says login to get started. So our assertions are passing for unauthenticated state. I'm going to remove the dot only that I had. And so that will change it so that it looks like after mocking the login, we have to head back to checklist. So let me go ahead and switch back to the other window for you guys here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to mock the login, but then we got to make sure that we're back on the checklist page because, of course, our unauthenticated state, we had essentially a dirty state from the previous one, and so we redirected to the home state. Now, let's see how well we did with that. Okay, so take here. I left this wrapped in another before here, and that's not going to work right. So I'll have to correct that before this will work okay. So it looks like our assertion here is outdated. We've got some failing assertions here. Let's review them real quick. Looks like it expects the checklist to contain my profile. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. And then we have some commented out tests here that we probably don't need anymore. So let me go ahead and switch back over to taking a look at IntelliJ, and we'll make these make a little more sense. So obviously it should be visible, but what should our daily checklist component contain? I think we're going to have to figure out how to mock this data for Cypress using a fixture, and that's a process that I haven't finished yet because one of our other stories is to write a harness for creating GraphQL mocks and stubs for Cypress. So maybe we'll visit that later this week. I'm gonna probably do this story a little bit backwards, and I know this is very early on in our streaming and building of this app, but I'm probably going to finish wiring up this feature and actually make it work, and then we're going to do some more of the scaffolding and architecture work necessary to backfill the things around test coverage to make sure that we have really thorough test coverage around this, because it is important to do that, but because this is our first feature that we're ever developing, we might have to do things a little bit out of order in order for me to make sense of it and really be able to still stay excited about this, because I spent so much time working on this scaffolding and architecture and stuff that I actually want to finish the damn feature. So for now, let's not worry about the mocks and stubs, but let's assume that we will be using and working from that same stub that we had before. And in fact, let's go ahead and I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to put it side by side here, and we're going to use that to make assertions about the content that we should be saying. So what I'd like to do really is let's just leave it at that and say, okay, we've got that daily checklist component, it should be visible, and we'll say let's include inside that the header that we expect to see. So check items off as you complete them today. Now what would be better than that? I'm putting a literal string here, but what would be better than that is if we planned ahead for internationalization and tokenized that. I don't know if I'm ready to go that deep. It definitely is an extra layer of abstraction to worry about. So, yeah, that's a huge project if we save it for later, but not what we're going to work on right this second. Maybe we won't put it off too late so that we don't make it an enormous chore, because internationalization can be if we put it off too long. But let's not worry about it this second, because it is, something to be said for getting to an MVP, and we have no features right now, so our MVP is a feature at the moment. What I want to see also beyond the daily checklist component is a describe block that says checklist entries. And we're going to assert a whole bunch of things about these. So we'll be asserting things like what type of things should be found in the list, and also what should happen when we click them and then we click back off of them again. Things like that. red, green, refactor. So now we can make some assertions about what happens here. And we can actually reuse our mock. I don't see why not. So I'm going to try and import that directly. Now this would be easier if our mocks were in a shared library, which it isn't, unfortunately. It probably should have been for this very reason. Let me see if I have any mocks directory in our data access library. And for anybody listening along at home, this is another Geo original track here, just the instrumental version of Above the Clouds, one of my personal favorites. Play together with our band Sonic Source, really enjoy it a lot.
That is the simplest song to the best.
Yeah, man. Good times. Okay, so I don't know if this is going to cause a problem with circular imports here, but I'm sure as crap going to try it. Let me see if I can. See if I can get this refactor to work. Okay, I'm breaking a bunch of things here, but what I'm basically doing here is I'm trying to move my interface out where it can be accessed by tests and by the UI of IDE as well. And then I'm going to have to import that from crates media / API interfaces, and it's going to be the case from checklist mock is going to import the same one. Actually, no, this is the old one that we're going to be deleting because we don't need that file anymore if this works, which I don't know that it will. And then over here, our checklist entry can no longer be imported from there, so it needs to be import checklist entry create media API interfaces. then we're going to import checklist mock from a different place too. Now that's going to come from data access. There we go. Cool. So, whoops. Checklist item is now breaking. So this should be importing. Yeah, there we go. Now I feel more intelligent. You guys still with me?
Still with you.
Cool, cool. Cool. I think we are getting closer here now. So now we should be able to import that same mock. Mock from data access. And then with that, let me just see if this compiles and if the tests are running okay. I know you guys can't see this where you're at. I'll go ahead and shift over to a couple of the other windows here so you guys can see what I'm seeing too. So yeah, it looks like it compiled okay. And okay, so it's looking inside this element and it didn't find check items as you complete them today. That's fine. Actually, the container element doesn't directly contain that text, so that's not a huge concern actually. It looks like we are doing okay so far. This is actually not bad. So back to our tests here. Why did I want to import this mock? Because what I want to try and do is maybe map over this and see if each of the items in it are included. So I think the way to do that is with each. I'm looking at the API documentation for this right now. I want to see. I think we can just go ahead and here we go. Yeah, let's try this. Alright, I think I've got the syntax here. Let's give this a shot. And then for this, we're going to use the mock object dot title as the assertion title. And then I think we'll need that support method. Let me take a look at the Cypress page object model support file that we have, which is helping us get things by their titles. I know I advocated really heavily using page object model directly, but we're actually going to use get-TestId directly here because we're using essentially a generator to generate multiple tests from one map. So in this instance, we're actually going to use get-TestId directly. And see what we can go ahead and assert against here. The test element we're going to make equal to hang on, let's see here. We should import the interface as well so that TypeScript doesn't have a heart attack. Entry, I suppose. Okay, so checklist entry, and then we can say our mock object is going to be. Actually, we don't even need to do that because data access should already have it typed. So this shouldn't be necessary. It should know what mock. Let's do it anyway. Okay, we'll do is equal to test ID, and then I'll have to double check back to see we did checklist dash item dash ID. So checklist item dash, and then the ID is in our mock object. Okay, so it's been a little while since I've done anything like this, but and it's possible that I got it totally wrong, but let's see what we're getting with this. Oh, I don't think I meant to do this wrap here. That's not right. What that's going to do is essentially feed that into Cypress as if it were an element itself. So I don't think that's what we want to do. I think what we probably want to do is maybe something like for Why doesn't it like this? What am I doing?
The serious poetry will come from Socrates.
So we're just about at time here, a little bit over our time here, and I'm just doing another quick search here to see what I'm doing wrong in terms of iterating through and writing tests programmatically here. I'll be able to do something like this. Let's try. So I'm trying a different approach here. Let's see if it compiles. Okay, and I'm going to pop over to Cypress to see if we got any good results here. Wow, isn't that something? So some of these Cypress tests passed only because we don't have any assertions in them. No commands were issued in the test. These other ones are not the case. These are dynamically generated assertions on each one of these items in the mock. So if somehow, for instance, we had a weird glitch where all of a sudden, and hang on a second, I'm just double checking that, yeah, cool, so the stream has the right video view up here. So if we made a mistake that somehow knocked the last item off of a list when we're rendering something, or the first item off of the list, or, you know, or every other item off of the list, or something like that, using a strategy like this makes sure that when you're rendering a list, the right number of things show up on the list. When you're paginating a list manually, it makes sure that only 10 items are showing up on the list, you know, potentially, and that, you know, when you go to the second page, it starts with item 11 and ends with item 20. So, you know, you can do a lot with a little if you write these little types of factories around your tests that generate the tests for you, generate a series of tests for you. So it's a good pattern to demonstrate, and we'll be doing more things like this. When we get to our next session tomorrow, we're going to look at crossing these off and changing the state, and what we get when we interact with these things. We'll write some tests, and then we'll make them pass. And then when we're done with all of that, the last thing that we'll be concerned with is styling it and making it look nice. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. Sorry to talk about you.
No worries. All right, fellas. Well, I know this was an interesting jaunt. I am really excited to see that we are able to get so many tests together here quick. I think we lost Steve somewhere along the way. He had to jump off for a work-related call at 8:30. Actually, I just remembered. But I'm excited. This is progress, and we'll keep going with this feature. Hopefully, I think by the end of this week, maybe by the end of next week, we'll have the feature fully functionally complete. Maybe even get in some of these things around GraphQL, mocking and stubbing, because that will be great scaffolding to very greatly expedite the process of building additional features in the future. So, very cool.
Absolutely. Since come together and going through these sessions with you has given me good insight into really good architecture.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Another thing that we'll have to look into getting tests around is the menu state. I think we had noticed that on this view, after logging in, we're not getting the left-hand menu for some reason. The right-hand one works fine. So we got to figure out what's going on with that. So I'm just mentioning it out loud to try and remember to clean that up before we finish the feature. But we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, well, I doubt anybody's watching because, this is only episode 2, but if you are, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll do a bunch of this. Again, we can't promise we're going to do it every night because some of these we're just going to shoot the bull and enjoy some friendly time, So when we feel like it, we'll be streaming, but keep an eye out if you're looking for it. The time to check the YouTube channel or our Facebook page is around 8 p.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.